Man, extremely excited. Excited for me personally, just to be with these guys. The longer I can be with them, the better, because I just enjoy the group so much. But we get to practice today. A lot of teams aren't practicing today. I'm excited for these guys getting on the plane tomorrow, heading out there. And obviously, though, we are going out there to try to accomplish something. So we got to get back to work today, but it's an exciting time around here.
You talked about shared experiences a lot. When we talked this season, you got guys from 18 that are fully invested, guys that have been out there before. Just sort of talk about being able to share that with all the past guys.
Yeah, on the staff alone, there's a lot of experience going to Omaha. And I didn't play in Omaha, I just coached in Omaha. But Coach Gaines played in Omaha, Coach Wierzbicki played in Omaha, Coach Riley played in Omaha. So they can tell the guys, here's what I felt like I did well, maybe here's what I didn't do, what I needed to do to prepare. Because we want to do our job to help them win a national championship. But we also want them to experience what they should experience by getting there. So you got to work those things in. So we're excited about that. But we also have experience from the standpoint of, we all have guys that have played in Omaha, players. But when you played in front of that many people in an ACC championship against NC State, and then had the games we had here, I feel like it prepares us for that.
Coach, you guys have known who you're going to be playing, at least in the first game in Omaha, since the last time it was recorded on Saturday night. Is there some more comfort level there, having known, and it being a team that you played already this year in Virginia?
I wouldn't say comfort level. When I drove in, I remember, before I left the house, telling the girls, hopefully it'll be the Who's versus the Heels, because you want the ACC to get there. We have a lot of respect for them. I know they have a lot of respect for us. We've both been really good in our division and really good in the ACC. But we have played them 3 times, and we played them at their place. So from the scouting standpoint, a ton doesn't change, but they're a lot different, obviously, at this point than when we played, and we're a lot different than when we played. But at the end of the day, I've been out there long enough to know that the 8 teams are out there for a reason. And we're going to have to play extremely well. So we'll focus on us more than we'll focus on Virginia.
Is the way they're pitching right now, particularly their starters, the biggest difference in the Who's right now versus the team you saw a couple months ago?
Yeah, I think so. They've got some guys back, 1 or 2 from injury, but also I believe it's Woolfolk who's really stepped up for him as a starter. And their offense is their offense. It's really good top to bottom. But that's been the biggest difference. They have pitched at a much higher level, especially starting pitching. I'll be, interested to see. I don't know if they've announced a starter yet, but we'll have to prepare for whoever that is. But they've pitched a lot better the last 6 weeks for sure.
As you go deeper and deeper into this tournament, how much are you concerned with letting guys really use the full extent of their arm? Obviously, you saw 144 pitches from a starter in your last game, but that's not exactly an everyday thing. But also, there's really not much to save the arms for as you go deeper and deeper. Only fewer games left.
Yeah, the format there is unique from the standpoint of, when we played a weekend series, unless it's been a midweek game, obviously you don't have a day. So you can definitely manage, and that's where the experience comes in. We've been out there, we've gotten ourselves in the loser's bracket, and we've also won the first 3 games, and all of a sudden you're playing the national championship. And that's where that'll help me from the pitching standpoint. But the way I look at it is, when you have that day for sure off, you just go after that first game. You have a starter in your mind, and you save that starter for game 2. But to answer your question on pitch counts, it's just the workload that the kid has had up to this point, how many days rest he has had. But if he's throwing well and he doesn't have those really taxing innings, I think pitch counts are overrated. I mean, we're not going to get into Nolan Ryan 270 pitches probably.
It's up to 270 now.
Yeah, whatever. What is the number? I think it's like
250 something.
239.
Oh, there we go.
Extra credit.
So I told the guys, until you can go out there and throw 239, you really hadn't done anything. But we'll monitor it. And but it's like the carrier the other night. He was throwing really well. If he gets out of the 7th, we might send him back out. We might go ahead and go to Dalton. But for me, it's more, if a guy has 1 long inning, 35 plus pitches, and you have to keep an eye more on that pitch count.
Scott, it's something you've talked about throughout the season in terms of the role identification with this team, knowing your role, the guys you brought in through the portal. Did you ever, early in the year, or in the fall, sit down with Stokely, Vanderbrake, Castagnazzi, and say, look, you know, you might have to take a step back and to help this team become what you thought it could become?
Yeah, I definitely didn't have that conversation like that before the season started. I had it when the season ended last year. Hey guys, I didn't say about having to step back. Like more like, I feel like there's going to be more competition. You need to understand that just because you played this year, I had that with everybody, even a guy like Honeycutt. You know, I would have been shocked if somebody would have come in and stole his position.
Yeah.
But I also would have been shocked if somebody ever in here was better than Dustin Ackley, and his career is pretty dang close. He may not have as many hits, but
right.
You know, the conversation more is we weren't where we needed to be depth-wise. I feel like we're going to be. You're an older player, so I want to make sure it's a two-way street because they can go on the transfer portal too. And I don't want anybody in our program that doesn't want to be here for the right reasons. And, you know, if you want to be back here and you want to be a part of, you know, what you've been a part of, but there's no guarantee just because you started this season that you're going to start next season. That's more the conversation. And when you have that conversation, you can go back and say, hey, we had that conversation. And you know that anybody can go in the portal, maybe easier to play somewhere else. But if you stay here, it's always going to be harder because there's going to be more competition at this level.
Just to follow up on that real quick, I mean, there's no way you could have predicted the success, though, of what you got in the portal back then when you were having that conversation, when you were telling them. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of unknown. We did feel really good about our high school class. We knew we were going to fight the draft, but you're right. We don't know if they're going to actually step foot on campus or they're going to sign professionally. But then when you're in the portal, you know, you have a little more idea of like, okay, what is Madera? What's he like? And then D'Onofrio, and all of a sudden Parks Harbor pops up. And
Sure.
I didn't know Parks Harbor was going to be here. He was a last minute guy. So at the end of the day, you know, every recruit and every kid that we meet with before they come here, we've never told a kid he's going to start. We've never guaranteed him he's going to be in the lineup. We just give him that opportunity and say, hey, you know, it's got to be about the team first. And if it's all about you playing a certain position, go somewhere else. Because you may be a shortstop your whole life. If we need you to play second base, you have to go there. But you're right, you don't know for sure until they get here. But I do know from being on the staff a long time, and the best teams we've had, your talent level's higher, and therefore the competition's higher. And guys just see it, and they know, okay, I can't take a day off. I can't take a day off in the weight room. I have to take care of myself off the field, all that stuff.
Scott, I think kind of piggybacking off of that, when you look at this roster, you know, I think from an outside perspective, Carolina baseball is like one of the upper echelon programs. But you look at it, you've got guys who's battled back from injuries. You've got guys who've been told they're not good enough to play at the D1 level. You've got D3 transfers. You've got guys who've been told they'll never play here at Carolina. Do you think some of their own personal resiliency plays into the team resiliency you've got going on right now?
100% yes. And every program does it different. Now you're going to see every program. I mean, we're all seeing it in basketball and football. You know, if you watch the Dan Hurley interview that he did on CBS, you know, he has his way, and that's just sometimes you walk away from a more talented player for the right player to come in your program. You still have to have talent, but you got to get the right fit to have a great team, and that's what we believe in here. Yes, we will take some guys off the transfer portal, but we also still believe in our high school players. We believe the ones that come in here are talented enough to get better. We count on them getting better through development. But we also want to get the right guy out of the transfer portal, and the guy that's going to be here for the right reasons. And we feel like we got lucky, you know. And obviously, the harder you work, the more lucky you get. And our coaches did a phenomenal job last summer of not just identifying the talent, but working hard to figure out, you know, the backbone of the kid, and is he genuine? Does he have high character?
You said before that pitch counts can be a little overrated sometimes. Are there any other aspects of the analytics or maybe of the game that you necessarily maybe trust your instinct a little bit more on, even as we go deeper into the postseason?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a specific.
Yeah, I would say the two main things, the hardest decisions, are when to play small ball offensively, when you lay a bunt down, because the analytics are the analytics and they show the analytics. But a lot of those analytics that everybody are looking at are analytics of Major League Baseball. So that's college baseball is different than Major League Baseball. We have great players, but we're not like the top 2% in the world. It's really hard to be a major leaguer. But the overall hardest is when to take the starting pitcher out, because the analytics are going to tell you the third time through the order, the facts are the facts. but you also have to go by what you actually see, and that's where for me I'm going to go by what I'm seeing with that starting pitcher before I make that decision. And even if you have an All-American closer like we have with or a reliever like Dalton Pence, you know, sometimes that starter has it going, and you can look in that other dugout like in 2006 when Robert Woodard threw that complete game. You know, we had Andrew Kerrigan, and he was lurking in the bullpen, but I felt like Clemson didn't want to face Robert Woodard again, and that's where Coach Fox and I talked, and we just sent Woody back out there, and he made us look good. The player has to do it. You're either going to you look good or you look bad, so that's kind of the analytics side.
Scott, how do you think you've changed over time since you first got the job to today? Like, in what ways do you think you've evolved? How are you different these past 4 years? Like,
yeah,
take me through that evolution.
I would say I've changed a ton from the standpoint of just how the lens that I look at the coaching side. I've always been ultra competitive. My parents tell me I was like that. They had to teach me how not to cry after we lost every single time, but it was a mad cry, they told me, so I had to learn that from them. You know, had a really short temper, competitive temper, and but as I've gotten older and my kids have grown, having a daughter that played a college sport helped as well. You know, watching that lens, wanting to be the right kind of parent that supported the team concept. But really for me, I would say the thing that I've changed the most is the players come first, period. And when I get in here every single day, that's what it's about. Like, okay, our current players, not the next team, not the person calling that wants tickets, or not even, you know, somebody that might want to help our program. It's more like, okay, everything starts and ends with those players and the staff, because, you know, all those folks, technically, all the coaches and everybody that works here works for me. And, you know, my faith has grown tremendously over the years, and I made the choice to coach through that avenue. By no means does it make me better than anybody else. But, you know, you heard the players talking about the other night, and as corny as it sounds, you know, the backbone of our program is love. I know it sounds corny, but I don't think people tell each other enough. You know, I'm a country boy from Sanford, North Carolina, and we hugged, you know, when we saw each other, we saw our families, and that's what I enjoy the most now, is just really getting to know every individual player. I know it's a long-winded answer, because that's how I feel like I can get the most out of them individually.
What was that sign you held up, just real quick after that?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
A piece of paper
Yeah,
after the game?
that was JR. We met in the first year we went to Omaha. JR has Hunter syndromes. Unfortunately, Hunter syndrome. He passed away suddenly this season. He had just come. He comes down now every year for a week. Bat Boys. He's just been a huge part of our program. And little did JR know, it was a picture of JR leaving, because he gets so sad when he leaves. And Remington was right there beside him. Little did we know, you know, that'd be the last time we would actually see JR. And so many people think that our team affected. Man, it's so neat to see the guys affect JR like they did, but realistically, I saw JR affect our team the most, from the perspective standpoint. We have other things that show our guys that, but that helps these guys understand, like, okay, you are a baseball player, but it's not who you actually are. Who you are is the most important thing. And, you know, at the end of the day, that's what people are going to remember you by the most, is the person you are and how you treat other people.
Scott, here in June of 2024, who is Mike Fox to this program now? And you know, like with Carolina basketball, for example, men's basketball, you know, Roy is sort of viewed as the caretaker of that program now, after his, you know, the career's over and he's still always around. Like, is Coach Fox the caretaker of your program now, or how does that dynamic work?
You'd have to ask Coach Fox that.
How do you see it?
I see it as a mentor. I think Coach Fox, he was adamant that he wanted me to become the caretaker of the program. But I also knew Coach, you know, he didn't call me and say, hey, you know, what are you doing? Or we need to do this, or we need to do that. It was more like I called him when I needed, you know, if there was somebody I needed some advice from, I was going to call Coach Fox, period. Because the one thing I did know, I'm not Coach Fox. Coach Fox is not me, so the personality was going to be different. But I figured out as a player at North Carolina Wesleyan that the blueprint of how to run a program he had it figured out. So I would be dumb if I didn't do everything that exact. I mean, I can't do everything exact because I'm not the same person. But I would say now Coach is more like the grandfather of the program. You know, we want him here, and he has great feel. You know, some people don't have feel. Just the bottom line. He's got great feel. He comes out, comes to scrimmages, he'll umpire. You know, he'll talk to the players, and I think them seeing that has been a huge value for us. But what they feel from Coach is like he just wants them to have success, and I feel it from him. He wants me to have success, and I think he's proud. You'd have to ask him. I think he's proud of, you know, I was taught growing up, you want to leave something better than you found it, and that's all my goal's been since the day I took the job. How long you coach, you don't know. But I feel like that's how he was, and I feel like that's how I am, and I want to do the same thing that he did, to continue to grow the program, continue to make it thrive. And you know, you saw the fans, and we're working hard to continue to do that. And but I'd be lying if I didn't say, like, I always think about, like, I want to make Coach Fox proud.
Last one.
With
Coach,
three-
I'm sure you've heard from a ton of people since Saturday night. What are some of the most meaningful messages that you've received? Just congratulations.
You can't be getting me emotional anything now.
It's fine.
I've gotten, I mean, I sat on my screen porch when I don't even know what time I went to bed the other night, because I went down and hung out with everybody that put all this stuff on, which was cool in the tents. And then got home and hung out with the girls, and then ate a little bit, and then sat on the screen porch and responded to all the texts. But the most meaningful text for me, obviously, besides family, I got to embrace my family because they were here. Again, everybody lives here. My brother lives close by, my sister, my parents, cousins. So I got to see all of them, but I got a ton of texts from kids that I had coached. I mean, I'm talking 1999 Wilmington Sharks. Y'all probably didn't know I was a head coach for the Wilmington Sharks, and driving a bus, and then Winthrop. Those 3 years were so valuable, leaving North Carolina and working for Coach Hudak, getting out of my comfort zone, but hearing from all those players, and then all the players here at North Carolina. A lot of them were here, but I mean, I'm just walking out. I know he's a superstar now, but I couldn't answer Zach Gallen's call. I'm gonna call him right back, but I know it's that he was gonna call me and congratulate me. He's a big leaguer, and he's gonna want to play FaceTime. So stuff like that. That was just like, whoa! Like, I hadn't talked to this kid since 1999, and he used to drive the van while I was sleeping on the way back from Florence, South Carolina. I mean, you couldn't do that now. It's probably a lawsuit waiting to happen. But Coach Howell was on those teams, and we talk about it all the time. Like, Coach Howell was one of the drivers because one of my coaches left, and it was just me the rest of the summer. So a player had to drive the other van, and but those were the most meaningful ones for sure.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank y'all.